Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Supernatural Lore. This is, for those of you that are new, a vlog in which I talk about Supernatural, the CW show, and all of the creatures that inhabit its world. So I like to do some sort of analysis as far as, where they came from, who they are, what their strengths or weaknesses are, and how they deal with facing our heroes, the hunters. Now I know this has been long overdue. It's been a while since I made one of these, and so I hope I'm not too rusty. I've been, following the show, and season 9 is doing okay so far. I actually wrote an article on the first half of the season, which I wrote about a couple of months ago, and I posted on the website, so I'll put a link down below, if you guys want to check it out. So as I said, this has been a bit overdue. I've actually been working on my current computer setup. If you remember from my previous videos, I was using that chair back there that you see, which is a reclinable chair, and it was really uncomfortable and really difficult to make it with my current setup. So right now, I actually have a proper, computer chair. I don't think I can show it, but it works pretty well. So I actually built it yesterday, and everything is ready, so I'm ready to go back and do Supernatural justice. So from the title, you can probably tell that I'm going to be talking about the heroes of the story today, the hunters. And there's another reason why I've been holding on, and it's because I was waiting for a package, actually, that I got last week. I actually took this back from work. So I wanted to show you guys and kind of do an opening video on it. Let me show you. And it will be this. So as you see, pop figures of Sam and Dean. So I'm actually going to open these on screen because I feel like if I'm going to talk about the hunters, then I should have these two present on the video, right? So let's do it. Okay, so I actually opened it already from the envelope that they came on, and they were affordable. I had a little bit of trouble finding them, but okay, so here we have it. This is Dean. He looks very much alike, as he said. He's very reminiscent of his, of the first few seasons in which he had, that denim shirt and, that under t-shirt. It's a shame that they didn't put his necklace. That's a little bit, it feels like it's a very characteristic feature of Dean, the necklace that Sam gave him when they were kids. But I mean, they got the details right, I think, and it has the little knife over here, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so Sam is actually wearing pretty much the same that Dean is wearing, only in a different color. He has the same little knife thing here, and I like his haircut. It looks very much like him, so I think it works pretty well. It's pretty accurate, both of them actually. Let's go ahead and actually open up the boxes, shall we? I opened Sam first, I don't know why. Let's see. Okay, oh nice, okay. So I've actually never owned a pop figure before, I don't know what they look like, but it's kind of cute, I think it's a very accurate representation. I'm totally taking these to work, by the way. Let's go ahead and open Dean now. What a mess. Come on. Doesn't want to come out. And no, that is not how I meant it. So here we have Dean, who, as I mentioned before, it looks very much like him. I like that he has the little spiky hair thingy here. He really is missing the necklace though. That's his most characteristic feature, I think. For anybody that follows Supernatural, anybody that watches and follows the show like I do. I feel like they're missing that. So we have Dean and Sam. There we go. I hope they're not in my face, but there we go. So, they're going to be present today, I guess, in honor of the video. We'll talk about you guys. Alright, so I guess without further ado, let's get started. Hunters are pretty much humans, ordinary humans, who are involved with the world of the supernatural. They hunt down and save people from monsters, demons, ghosts, and other creatures. They have ancestors dating their existence back to the 17th century, as far as we know, and possibly even further. We haven't explored that so far on the show yet. Hunters include those that are actively hunting, as well as those that are involved in other activities, such as, let's say, for example, research or weapon supply to other hunters. So as far as their traits, we know that they are, for the most part, humans, as I said, who, unlike other people, believe in supernatural beings, and even more so, they fight against them to protect people from harm. One of the most recurring reasons for a hunter to go into the lifestyle is because of a tragedy, something that happened in their lives that involved the supernatural. For example, in the case of Sam and Dean, their mother, this is not a spoiler, it's from the very beginning of the show. So, their mother was killed by a demon in the first episode. So, that was a reason for John, their father, and their two kids, Sam and Dean, to become hunters and kind of avenge the death of their fallen mother. So in situations like this is when a family of supernatural hunters can be formed by virtue of a family tragedy, like I said. So it is shown that hunters typically pass their knowledge down to their children, their lifestyle, their knowledge, everything that they are, so that, if they are targeted by any supernatural being that's looking for vengeance, they can defend themselves. Or even if, they have to take down somebody that kills them, they can face that creature with the knowledge that was imparted to them by their parents. In terms of their lifestyle, we know that hunters usually don't have a single place to live, unless they live as a family kind of in secrecy from society. But for the most part, hunters live alone, and they move throughout the country looking for cases of, sightings of creatures that people have seen to protect these people from said creatures. They live on the move, and because of it, they have few belongings with them, which allows them to kind of move easily and quickly from place to place, wherever they're going. However, they can live in a house, as I said, but they usually don't spend too much time in that location, and they don't try to, build relationships or make friends or kind of become this as part of society, because they know that their stay is temporary, and anything were to happen, and they might have to just kind of leave in a rush, and because they're committing, for some people it might be considered murder. Hunters, even though they like to live by themselves and travel alone, they do know each other, and they share knowledge, they cooperate with each other. Sometimes there are groups of kind of like factions that get together for a single goal. We'll understand, for example, that in the first few seasons there was a place called Harvell's Roadhouse, which was located in Nebraska, and that was kind of like a congregation place for hunters. So whenever you needed residents, a place to stay, or if you needed some information, you needed just to meet with other hunters, maybe you needed some help, you could go to this place and get what you needed. Just friendly hunter faces, people that understood what you were going through. I'll just keep switching the characters, but I just want to give them their fair screen time, But in any case, as far as abilities, we know that, as I mentioned, most hunters are humans, and because they are on the hunt usually, they have a good physical condition, for the most part suitable for hunting. They do train themselves, they are proficient in the use of weaponry. They also possess an extensive knowledge on the supernatural and mythology as well, based on either their experience, their information that they share with other hunters, or just by virtue of their parents teaching it to them. They usually refer to hunters as having similar traits, as they all behaving in a similar fashion, especially if they live together. So I know sometimes throughout the show they refer to them as barbarians, as violent. So they kind of have that reputation to them, that it's kind of like a stab first, ask questions later kind of attitude. But it's almost like they have to be that way because of the circumstances. They're always in danger. They always have to protect people that they care about, and innocent people that are being targeted by monsters and creatures. So in a way, they do have to be barbarians. They do have to be kind of emotionless. They have to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? They just have to be that way, barbaric, aggressive, brutal, reckless sometimes, because of the situation. Whatever decision that they make could cost them somebody's living or dying, and even themselves. So they are in a great danger, and they have to be that way because of their lifestyle. Hunters, as I said, they're proficient fighters. They're very skilled. They're also very proficient with firearms, shotguns, handguns, melee weapons that they might acquire. When weapons are scarce and they are, for example, in a dangerous situation, they are likely to use hand-to-hand combat or whatever is available as a weapon. Like, they're very resourceful that way. Ah, Twister! Ah! What you doing, Dean? What you doing? You having a seizure? I don't know why I'm holding him like this. What the hell? Someone like I'm grabbing his... Never mind. They also appear to be proficient in the art of tracking their targets or other humans that they're trying to protect. They also possess tactical skills, and it's an instinctive ability to read other people. They're able to read behavioral characteristics and kind of manipulate people, like, that makes them likely to talk to authorities or people that are affected by the circumstances and just kind of be able to get that information out of them just by virtue of them being either charming or intimidating. Just being able to kind of portray themselves however would get the other person to share that information with you. They're also pretty capable in the art of just escaping, evasion, and moving very silently. So they are able to kind of sneak in and sneak out of situations and places whenever the situation requires. And I guess subtlety and stealth, like, such as a surprise attack on a group of creatures. Now, this is not completely generalized, but we have seen throughout Supernatural that a lot of these hunters are able to read and recall Latin incantations, since we know that a lot of incantations from witches and other creatures are in Latin, so they have to be well versed in them. For example, if you watch my episode about the demons, we know that we can expel a demon from a human that is possessed by chanting an exorcism spell in Latin. And not even Latin, some of them, the more knowledgeable ones, they're able to use and read a lot of other languages, especially ancient ones, that allow them to go into ancient texts and journals and kind of get more information about a foreign monster or something that they're fighting that nobody knows about. Because of this, and speaking of journals, because a lot of them, as I mentioned, a lot of the hunters share their information with each other, they keep a journal with them of all the events that they have encountered, the creatures that they have fought. For example, in the case of Simon Dean's father, John Winchester, we know that he kept a journal with all the information of his hunts throughout his life, and he passed that down to his children, to his son, Simon Dean. Now, because of their ability to read people, as I mentioned, that they were very manipulative sometimes, and that does help in their investigations whenever they're hunting for something. We also know that also gets them into a lot of trouble with the law. They do a lot of activities that are frowned upon by the law, including, for example, lockpicking, breaking into houses, security systems, computer hacking, carjacking, and, gambling, things of that sort. They are also knowledgeable not only in regards to supernatural beings, but also about, police, fire departments, and government agencies, how they work, how they function. For example, the FBI and the CDC. They understand how these organizations usually operate and how they conduct their investigations, which allows them to know how to both impersonate and evade them effectively, which again, it helps them get that information that they're looking for. A lot of these methods are used to gather information about the cases that they're working on, although methods can differ sometimes between hunters, depending on who we're talking about. Some of them are really, really shy, and they have different body types, different personalities, so whatever kind of suits you better, it allows you to portray yourself in a different way. But at the end of the day, they are very persuasive and manipulative. Like I said, that does allow them to do the work very well. A hunter is also usually very, very well aware of his or her surroundings for the most part, since they're always in constant danger. So what they like to do is that they keep weapons always close to themselves, always available, ready to grab if they need one. Okay, so let's go back to Sam and talk a little bit about the hunter's tools that they use for hunting, their weaponry. So we know that they have a large amount of weaponry available, as they need to be practical about where they're going so that they can easily adapt to the different situations that they may face and the creatures they may encounter. Depending on the enemy, they use weapons and other items that can weaken and kill them. But for the most part, all supernatural hunters have a common list of utensils, tools, and equipment that they use, that they find useful in most cases when they are, for example, we have, of course, firearms, and that includes, handguns, shotguns, revolvers, all of that. one of the more useful weapons that the hunters have available to them, of course. They are able to also modify their bullets, as I've spoken to in my previous episodes. They can modify their bullets depending on what creature they're facing. So for example, if they're facing a skinwalker or a werewolf, they can use silver bullets. Or in the case of ghosts, they can also use shotgun cartridges loaded with salt. But firearms, of course, they're not sufficient sometimes, so they have to rely also to close-range weapons such as knives. They can be useful when, there's no possibility to use a gun or to use them to decapitate a vampire, for example. So sometimes it's more useful to have a sharp weapon than, a firearm in certain situations. Also, salt. Salt is very useful for hunters. They have considerable amounts of salt, which they can use for protection against demons and ghosts, hellhounds, you name it. Since a lot of them cannot pass through a line made of salt. However, it can be also used to, like I said, put them on the shells, the shotgun shells, to load them with it and kind of use them as an offensive means of fighting these creatures. And then there's also silver, which of course works very well against werewolves and skinwalkers. So it's practical to have weapons such as knives, for example, or bullets that are made of silver. On top of that, holy water, of course, very useful against demons, as it's quite harmful and painful to them. So it doesn't really kill them, but they can use it as a means to repel them and maybe mount an escape if they're overwhelmed by a demon. As far as other tools, we know that, for example, they use tasers, lighters, lanterns, binoculars, syringes, you name it. That can be used at any time. So, for example, they can use the oil and the lighters in order to burn a corpse and bones in order to dispose of a ghost. Or syringes that can also be used to inject vampires, which are vulnerable to dead man's blood. So they have those tools available just in case they need them. I did mention spells and incantations before, and hunters do sometimes use magic if they have to, like for example for expelling a demon or maybe forming a protective barrier, whatever they need. They are not considered to be witches though, they're not full practitioners of the craft, but sometimes when they have to, they can maybe summon a demon, or as I said, erect a protective barrier, maybe a repelling symbol, things of that sort. Hunters are, of course, highly resourceful, so sometimes they might, when none of these options are available, they might resort to something like explosives. They have been shown to be able to build their own custom-made explosives, like Molotov cocktails, for example, which they can use against a large group of enemies. But they usually prefer to be more discreet, so they usually don't rely on these methods. They're more like silent, kind of stab you in the back sort of violence. And I think that about covers it. I believe I've covered everything that there is to know about hunters. At least without spoiling anything. I did mention during my previous videos that I wanted to be as spoiler-free as possible. I want you guys to have an opportunity to watch the show if you haven't. And for those that haven't, I guess, gotten to the point in which we are right now, for you to not get spoiled. So, but that gives you a good, brief understanding of what a hunter is. Stop it. Stop it. What are you doing? Enough. You look like they're kissing. Cut it out. Cut it out. They're fighting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked it. I think I got all the information correct. If not, please feel free to correct me. I do want to be, as an informed fan, I want to share information that's, of course, accurate. So if I missed something or if I made a mistake, please feel free to let me know. But in any case, thank you for watching. Please give me a like if you liked it. Please comment if you'd like me to know something about Supernatural. Or to have a conversation, I'm always up for it. And please subscribe if you want to see more. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, enjoy. Goodbye.